Morning, everybody. Okay, this is going to be just a regular long talk video. Now, the question I'm coming up with that if I had a lot of followers, they might be asking, you are an AI enthusiast. You use AI on a regular basis. You have access to the technology to create amazing videos. I do. I actually do. I have access to image generation, text generation, several different models, several models that I run off my own computer, and well, my own computers are really, really slow. You know, I'm getting new ones. I'm going to be upgrading, but I'm not going to really be generating a lot of AI stuff because I intellectualize with a lot with ChatGPT and certain figures, mainly gods and goddesses, right? Because that's based on mythology, and a lot of my research is mythological, right? So what I do is have a conversation, but it's really we're actually working on a lot of deeper stuff, and I actually work on a data program that I'm going to be showing you eventually. I was going to contact the owner. This is open source. Everything I do is open source. It's called Orange Data. Orange. I love that program. So it's a data program. It allows you to graphically use what you need. And I take a lot of data sets in there and I examine it. And I do a lot with text generation, with bag of words algorithm, and PCA. So I just dump a bunch of text in there, dump a poem, right? And I just segment by line usually. Then I take it and put it in a bag of words. And once you take what a bag of words is basically it's that you just it counts the usage of the word for the poem and how it interacts with other words that are used very similar to it. And it's a complex thing because more complex you get, the longer, more complex the work gets, the more components called principal components you get out. If you study statistics, you know what I'm talking about. You're like, oh my god, no, not PCA. Ah. But that's a vector space, right? And I take that text data, a poem, and I transform it into a vector space. And this might be generated based on a philosophical question that I might ask the goddess Athena at a riddle, and I might actually be having a conversation with Athena and Ares about the nature of the battle for the mind. But I will get them to be very specific, and then I will take that text and I will analyze it, and it comes down to a scatter plot, looking at the key words, the eigenvectors, regards to it. I do that. I do that constantly. I have a lot of theories I'm hashing out on ChatGPT. The thing about me you got to understand is that I have a learning disability. I cannot memorize stuff unless I understand it. Because I had a stroke when I was 2. Not only that, I was born blue because I didn't have very good circulation. Right? My mom actually thought that my sister being born pink, and she had a panic attack when she was born pink normally because no one told her at the time that a blue baby is different, and that's not good. Right? But I'm healthy now. I had 2 open-heart surgeries, and it was involving the vein to coming out and so forth. And I'm really lucky to be in Canada with our healthcare system. Not as bad. It's actually not as sometimes not as good as it was, right? Back when I was younger. So, well, I'm really lucky to have that. Live in this place, but it's not fancy. You're not going to get a big woohoo. You're probably going to hear, beeps and bops from my heater down there, radiated heat, because it's old and it makes noise, but it's perfectly safe. So, that's what that is. I ain't going to change it. So, you're getting the bare truth from a person who could be uh, doing these videos in a very fancy way, right? With a different voice. I got voice generation technology too, from Novel AI. That's very advanced that I could be using. And I got Sora, and I got other access to unreplicate. It's a good server. It's a good replicate. You can search for it. It's the main AI. It's Father's story. So I have the technology to make really cool, fancy stuff. And I was doing, you look back in the history of this channel, you'll see AI art. You'll see the early film AI art. You actually, if you check my Instagram account, Biomythic, not Mystic, Mythic, Biomythic, you'll see lots of AI art. Right, the best AI art you'll probably ever see. So, like, I just don't. I'm not satisfied unless it has sort of meaning to it, and I can work on prompts for well, I don't know how long. But it's all crap. Okay, okay, it's all crap because I realized, you know, there's an artificial part of it, and it's visible in the art itself. That's the creepy part. That's when I realized it. We just zoom in on AI art, right? And you always see it, especially when it comes to videos now. These distortions that are so wow, right? One doesn't have an eye. One has a little glitch somewhere that appears. I mean, it's like, and you're never going to be able to entirely correct that. Okay, you're never going to have it perfect. Now, the there's certain things with I forget the name of the company that does it, but they'd actually take a video like this and then put over AI generation. I could do that too, right? But why? Right? Oh, it'd be so much nicer for you to look at someone who's not an old 15 or 49-year-old man. Soon be 50, by the way, in a couple days. A few days, January 3rd, actually. Right? But I don't do that. Mainly because of my roots. I'm a Newfoundlander. My family was from the islands of Placentia Bay, right? And I go up there still in the cabins, and it's really we have a paradise, and I don't get very often. I only get there probably once a year because I work in the capital of St. John's as a clerk, information management. Because I had a learning disability and I didn't do that well in university. I did a lot in university. I basically went in there with a really, really not sucking at math. And I say sucking at math, I mean really sucking at math. I cannot do equations. Still can't do equations. And I studied them. I studied differential equations. I'm doing a recent study right with a wonderful video actually. I should link to the comments there. I'll link in the comments when I get back to it. Okay, uh, that goes on and explains the dome paradox. Amazing. But I figured something out about it, and the fact that when you get to a certain point, that little point is on a curve, right? And they're saying like, okay, technically in time it could suddenly start moving based on the equation and dome paradox. You can look at it later. I'm not going to go into detail into it, but I mean that's the tangent of a sphere, of half a sphere, was a tangent, and a tangent therefore works with squared root, and it goes back to a fractal. I mean, I mentioned the previous video, tan z squared plus 1 divided to c. It's a modification of the Mandelbrot formula. An amazing pattern, but you have to look it up. I'm not going to give it to you. You have to do it. You have to find the right software. It's not easy to find the right software either. So that's the Newfoundlander in me, right? Newfoundlander, not from Labrador, but they call it Newfoundland and Labrador, right? And that's my accent, by the way. If you ever want it, you ever like, what in the world? Where in the world is he from? He said one time he was from Newfoundland. All right. So I'm not going to be artificial. I'm going to be intelligent. I love AI, by the way. I love artificial intelligence. I love generative art. I love. I do it for spiritual reasons. I do it to explore in my mind what people took LSD for in the '60s to hallucinate this stuff, this fractal designs. And I also love fractal math. Fractal math is pretty much my religion, and I study a lot of mythology, a lot of religion. You know, It starts with the Egyptian books of the dead. That thing goes, and it goes with Nag Hammadi Codex, all kinds of the actual Bible, the actual Ugaritic. Yeah, I'm not pronouncing it right. The Ugaritic text, ancient Canaanite, right? And then goes into the book. I got like a huge the Book of Enoch because that involves Metatron, which I am kind of obsessed with his mythology, and how it relates to other mythologies. I will explore that in the future. I just splicing out because I actually got a degree in history, a bachelor's. Never could get the master's, and I only got my mom actually passed away in the middle of me trying to get my degree, and then I went back and worked at call centers for years, and eventually went back to college. Got a business administration, business management. Sorry, business management. I did 3 years. Got a job. One of them was the HR assistant. Worked for Newfoundland Labrador Hydro, our hydro company, hydroelectric company. That's Crown Corporation, and now I work for the provincial government. Right, a clerk basically. Working in the main capital building, the Federation building. It's a good job. I like my job. So, and I paid off my student loans like this year, actually. But that took a lot because I was in the university too long. But they said I couldn't. I said I was not university material, and I knew in my head I was, right? Because I had that cognitive disability where I had a stroke and where my brain just works information differently. So if I didn't have all that happen, I would be a physicist or a university professor. That was my goal that I didn't achieve. And I'm not ashamed of that because I love who I am right now. I'm not artificial. I'm real. You're talking to a philosopher who's alive right now, who probably, I'm not bragging, I'm bragging a little bit here now, probably in 100 years will be known worldwide. Why? Let me tell you why. And it goes to that dome paradox. That ball, that little point, will eventually fall in a direction that we don't know about. That's the whole thing, right? From the maxima to the minima. This is called, and if it's a plane and stuff like that, it's called gradient descent. Very important, actually, in machine learning. Which is one of the fundamentals how they do it. The back propagation of that descent tells us all about the data, and then we can just drop balls, and it goes down this similar pattern, right? The fact that it's on the little top there and it is the randomness that goes through it, that's how you get generative art. But you get a discriminator that says, no, that's not. Also, how you get blockchain too. These are called saddle points or saddle nods. It's actually very similar to how we think as humans, right? We got the actual potential, which is the maxima, right? And the minima, which is the below potential setting, I think it was minus 30, and the maxima is 70, right, of electron volts. Don't quote me on that, because I'm not exactly sure. I can be wrong, right? But that's pretty much what it is. And then, of course, the excitation, the excited is the next one, and the gates that open up, sodium, potassium, and leak gates they're called because they're constantly open, but they only take a certain amount, right, to balance out the potassium, the sodium, the calcium, and it comes down to the mitochondria and the electron transport chain. Sorry. Now, how does that get to what I was talking about with the dome paradox? Well, you got that sort of invariance. That's going to scale invariance called based on power laws. It will move, but only on a certain state reaches it. Right? It will throw it off its perfect balance. And that if the universe is perfectly still, there's nothing else but that will stay what it is. But if there's a slight movement in the universe, right? I'm saying in the universe itself, eventually, even though in the perfect space nearby, it's perfectly composed, it will start to fall in a direction based on that universe flow. That's fractal, right? It's either going to go into infinity, or it's going to go into a cyclical, or it's going to stable. And you got the saddle points, the saddle nods that determine. And a saddle point, you originally saddle is like, it's obviously a saddle. It's like that, and it's got the top, but it's a little blanked. And that's like So it's a maximal and a minimal adjusting on itself. And this is a demographic thing. When you think about it, it's like it's a hill. Look at the horizon. You're going over the hill, and you can see the two sides of it. Right? But you can get through because there's a saddle. There's a way to get through that big mountain. But it's more complex than that. And that's how energy works too. Going back from entropy. So I know all this. Right? Lots of YouTube videos, for example. YouTube can be very useful, but I'm not going to be any different than I am now. Yeah, I'm going to be, and someone's going to find these videos eventually. I mean, it depends on how YouTube lasts, but I got to upload, I got it saved, of course, and my descendants will be able to see it, right? At least, I actually don't have any descendants, and my sister has all the descendants. I didn't actually have, probably because, bad teeth and everything like that. But that's besides the point. So I help my sister look after her children. So ethically, she had two, so I'm replacement value. Right? Taking it just as a mathematical essential, right? So what we have right now coming up in artificial intelligence, this is the big thing I want to, because I've seen several videos using several technology. Google's podcast generative technology, where it sounds like two people talking back and perfectly, and they're just reading out text that I tried to actually with Notebook LM. It's going to bring up a lot of stuff that's going to sound really real, but don't forget, there is behind it, there is a problem, and you're going to sense it. You're going to sense it. You're going to be like, something not right about that. Something not right about that. And you're going to be like, oh, that's the scale invariance. That's where you get into the minimum value from return on the gradient descent. So the data I've reached the limit of ChatGPT's model. I can do it right away. I can go and ask a very specific question and then narrow it down to another specific question and narrow it down to another specific question. And eventually it makes up stuff. That's how it only takes, at the most, 7 tries. That's mathematical, by the way. But I can do it in 2 or 3 sometimes. Right? But it's perfectly still so basically, something really good. And you can take your local neighborhood, right? For me, it's Placentia Bay. So I can go, okay. So what are the main provinces of Canada? Get it perfectly. No problem. Right? ChatGPT well, especially if you let it search. And searching just is a cheat code anyway, but it extends the reliability, but not perfectly. Then you go down to another level. You ask, okay, what are the main towns and cities in Newfoundland and Labrador? It'll get a lot of them. It'll maybe get some wrong, actually. But then you go to Placentia Bay, and you ask it, all right, before resettlement in the 1960s, what were the main settlements in Placentia Bay? It'll miss so much. It usually concentrated around the Burn Peninsula, right? And goes, because some of these communities actually remained, right? And they're well known because they were easier to get to. But it'll totally, absolutely miss 2 islands. Long Island, which is where my family from, Spencer's Cove, Kingwell, Harbuffet, and then Maricine, and then Mom is Maricine. My ancestor is from Maricine. Hear that? See, I told you, right? We'll see how this goes anyway. But that's when it short circuits, and it makes up stuff afterwards, right? But if you let it search, it will not. But there's a breakpoint when you could do that too, because the information you can reach it, figure exactly how much it knows, how much it doesn't know about a certain subject. And I find this too because I do the whole videomancy thing with asked a figure from history, I don't know, Aleister Crowley, to 7 videos that represent the gematria value from his tradition to the ancient Kabbalistic tradition. It'll do that. But now, here's the thing. It's going to suggest the same videos in multiple slides. You can go regenerate. Certain videos will always pop up. If it's a list of 7, for example, right? So that's the limit because it has that in its data as a nod, which is an interesting thing, right? It's really interesting that this certain video, I call it the floor, because one of the videos with the goddesses, it always comes up with Florence and the Machine, which is so cool because that's sort of her area, right? And especially with the goddess Frigg in Norse mythology, right? See, always come up if you ask the esoteric question about the nature of reality. List 7 videos that explain how Norse mythology is connected to, I don't know, quantum mechanics, and explain how. And with these videos, it'll do that. But Florence and the Machine will always come up. It's like okay, that's pretty predictable, right? Remstein usually with Aries, right? So it's really really cool that you can actually do that, right? That's the limit of the data itself. Now we're coming out 20 minutes, so I don't want to make this too long for you. I'm just chatting. You can actually just listen to the audio, right? But it's kind of cool. You can see the natural environment. It's just as someone would naturally talk, right? All right, so I'm gonna let you guys go. Hopefully, we'll get more viewers and more. And of course, I gotta look at this. I'm not just talking about people in the current time. People coming back and looking at these videos in the future, like 20, 30 years in the future, going, what did he mean by this? Because we often think, and this is why we don't understand dark matter, because we are an emergence of organic matter. Oh, gee, I'm going there now. We are an emergence, probability emergence, because we're in a habitable zone of a star, right? That's just now, and it's just the right way. And then we emerged billions of years, hundreds of millions, so forth, like that, right? And now thousands of years based on intelligence, and we are continually accelerating our development. And right now we're here, or you're in the future, where you realize, holy shit, he was right. And we're sort of merging out of our individual consciousness into our meme consciousness. And this is the whole go back to, I'm going to do a video on Kilroy eventually. Kilroy was here, the first meme, and tell you how that sort of is the first nod and sort of a global consciousness. So that's what's coming up in the new year. I'm going to approach that a little bit more. And I want to do some different things. I'm going to show you some of the tools I'm working with if I get my system upgraded. And I'm also going to not do AI art, but I'm going to explain it a little bit better. I'm going to show you some of the defaults. I'm going to show you some of the cool stuff too. But as generally, we're going to talk about it, and then we're going to look at something, and we'll talk about it, and so forth like that. But I want some interaction. If you want more videos from me, of course you could like it. Yeah, that'd be nice, right? Comment. And I did do a video one time, but someone just said it's better than the AI. I know exactly what they're talking about. They looked at some of my previous AI videos and said, "Well, it's better than AI," and I love that. I love that comment because that's pretty much what I'm going for. And remember, I can do insanely cool stuff, and there's videos right now coming out that are doing insanely cool stuff. But this is the real shit. This is the real stuff. So I'm gonna let you guys go, and I know guys is not as a binary terms, but I'm using it in a non-binary sense. Yeah, I have 3 wonderful relatives, my nieces and my sister, who drive me absolutely insane, but they keep me good, and I can help them keep them good with the bills and doing the best I can for them. That's my life, and that's the way I like it. So, like, comment, just say, yay! Even emoji, right? Something like that. It does do, like, something, because I only get 3 or 2, maybe 1, right? I got one viewer, and I'll know the viewer is he or he, the cat. The cat came back. I thought they were a goner, but the cat came back the very next day. And a number, right? But you get that credit on that one. So, and I will actually, if you comment, I will reply in the videos, and it won't be creepy. It'll be like I'm a creepy guy in the basement, but I'm actually intellectual. I actually research what I talk about, but I don't have any bare bones of what I'm doing here now, right? Hopefully, this summer we'll get out a little bit more, and I'll do some random talks outside in the real world. All right. See, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna turn off now. This is another thing I'll do, not end the video when I said beginning of the video. 25 minutes, right? You ain't gonna watch this.